If this video looks like crap, it's because it is. You see, I'm shooting this one in standard definition to show you guys how bad DV looks using that camera that I fixed in the last video. We're going to use that camera to shoot this video showing a DV tape rewinder.
Tonight we're not recording on our normal camera that we normally use, which is usually this one right here. If it looks a bit different tonight, why does it not look like it's in high definition? Well, because we're not shooting in high def. No, today we are shooting in standard definition. That little DV camera that I took apart and fixed the other day, I figure we will shoot this video in standard definition while I look at this miniDV, because this tape's being shot on miniDV. We're going to look at this little miniDV tape rewinder, which I've had for forever. And I almost said a bad slang there. But gotta watch out for the woke community. So you saw my 8mm, really expensive 8mm tape rewinder in a previous video when I fixed it. Well, this is the actual opposite of that. This is a Maxell miniDV tape rewinder, and that is all it does, is rewind miniDV tapes. It takes 9 volts on the input, does not run on batteries, and this thing has got to be as cheap can be. And the video quality that's going with this is pretty bad, I think. Shot in DV. This is what we had to deal with when we're dealing with miniDV format on a consumer camera, because again, I did have much better, and I do have a much better DV camera. I have several much better DV cameras than this, but this one here is free, and we're going to give it a bit of a test. Anyway, this thing here is shot, does not rewind. I'm sure it needs belts. You want to see how easy these things come apart? Yeah, you just pull them apart. Yep, no screws to hold this one together. Talk about the cheap as cheap can be. There's the tape compartment, complete with the oh, look at that, the spring won't even lift it up. There's supposed to be a spring on here that pops this open, and it does to a certain degree. I think the spring's only working on one side though. I think this side is totally foobar. Oh look, the LED has come unsoldered. Surprise, surprise. This thing, I don't think it even works. I'd be surprised if it actually turns. But let's find a plug, and we'll put some power to this unit. I just so happen that I have a plug right there that might fit, but then again, it might not. That plug, not gonna fit. Special size plug, I guess. Let me see if I can find an adapter that will run this. So I hooked up some wires to it because I don't have a plug that fits it. It's a different size plug for a specific adapter that came with this unit, and I have no idea where that is. So I've hooked up some wires. If we want to see how simplistic this thing is, well, I can make it spin without a tape in. The belts actually may even be okay. I have to reconnect this wire if I want the little green light to light up, because this little, I think this little light used to sit right in here like this, and one of the wires is broken off, so we'll resolder that. But how this works is basically there's an infrared LED right here that shines across to the photo detector so that when the tape gets to the beginning, it stops. If I cover it up and I release the little latch here, it should, when I press down the rewind button, spin, which it does. And there's considerable torque, so this will actually rewind a tape. And then when the tape gets to the beginning and the light shines from the infrared emitter to this detector, it should activate the solenoid and stop it. That's how simple this unit is. And it actually gets the job done. I'll go get a tape. We'll rewind a tape on this thing. I don't have to do anything to it because it's not broken. I thought maybe I was going to have to even replace belts, but it looks like the belts are still okay on this, and it should operate and the light should even come on when I resolder the light, which looks like the soldering was done by somebody in kindergarten, and that's why it fell apart in the first place. So put the little light back in its little holder here. When I activate this, the light comes on, but you see won't rewind unless there's a tape in place. And basically how these work is, well, when the tape gets put into position, it will open the lid. I don't think it even opens the lid, does it? Yeah, I guess it must open the lid on them, because these little pins pull the tape out so the tape doesn't get damaged. Let me go grab a mini DV tape, and we'll put it in here and I'll show you guys how this thing works. This is going to be a real short video because there's really not much to see. Maybe we'll take this thing apart and take a look at what's under there. Alright, so when I load a tape and close it down, it lifts up the lid, as you can see, and then basically it just rewinds the tape all the way back to the beginning. And when it gets back to the beginning, it should stop. Little solenoid that stops it. And of course it doesn't stop it. It doesn't stop. What else is new? And it eats my tape. Wonderful. Yeah, that's why these things weren't used. I mean, I would never use this again. I just wanted to show you guys how cheap this stupid thing is. See, now it works. But when there's a tape in it, it did not. This time it did, but it didn't the first time. Go figure. But yeah, there's pretty cheap, these units. Let's see if I can wind this tape a bit forward and see if it'll actually stop like it's supposed to. And it still doesn't stop. Oh boy. But you get the idea how this thing works. And it crunches my tape again. And that's why I would never use this thing. I think that's probably why I stopped using it. It was just a piece of junk from the day I got it. And when I was shooting on DV tapes, I thought it was a great way to rewind the tapes when I was done. But as you can see, it leaves a lot to be desired. We'll just pop the mechanism out on here so you guys can see what's below the transport on this one. Now this thing probably was maybe 25 bucks when it was new. It was not expensive. And it sure shows from the quality. When we compare it to that Sony 8mm rewinder, which sold for, $500. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. Hence why I'm recording this on tape, just so that it looks like crap like this is. What else comes out on this thing? Is that it? I don't even know how to take this stupid thing apart. I thought that would lift everything out, but apparently it doesn't. Apparently there's other stuff. There we go. So this is the platform that the stop mechanism's on. And then there's just a couple little levers here. When you press the button, it moves this forward. This lever pushes forward like that, which moves those levers out. I mean, it's got to be the worst design I think I've ever seen. is a switch over here. So when this lever moves forward, when this plate pushes forward, it moves these two tape levers out like this. One closes the switch to turn on the motor and turn on the electronics, and then I don't even know what this does. I guess it tightens this tightens the belt, but there's two belts in here. One belt that is driven from the motor, and it looks like when it stops, when the tape hits the end and it stops, this lever breaks the take-up spool. So as it's stopping, that kicks over, that stops this from turning, so that when the arms retract, the motor is still running, it retracts the tape in. That looks like that's what it's supposed to do. That's probably why it was eating the tape, is because this belt is pretty loose. That's probably why when the auto stop kicked over, you see when the solenoid kicks in, you see the solenoid here? When that kicks in, that brings the stop lever over. And maybe that's why this belt is kind of sloppy, but who knows? I mean, this thing is just such a piece of junk. Those levers go in like that, so when you put it into rewind, this slides up like that, and it turns on and rewinds, and then when you stop it, it's the same as pulling this lever here. This is the stop button, corresponds to the stop button on the top here. When you press that, that releases the lock, it slams on the brake and brings this back while the motor is still running. And while the motor is running, it retracts the tape in. Looks like that's how it's supposed to work, but it's not. And it could be just because that belt is as sloppy as it is. Anyway, this teardown video shot in glorious DV standard definition garbage quality off of a garbage camera that I got for free, that I fixed yesterday just because I was bored, and I figured I would give it a bit of a run and show you guys what the picture looks like, if it's actually even recording. I don't even know if it's recording because I didn't do a test recording on it. I did a little test recording yesterday, but yeah, it's, as they say, old, very old. I'm probably going to just sell this little camera because I don't have any need for a miniDV camera, so I'll probably put it up on Craigslist or something, or garage sale, or one of those other Facebook marketplace, and try and get a couple dollars for it. It does take the standard battery, so I found that it does take the standard. I'm running I guess a V series battery, and it takes the same batteries as these cameras. It takes the same battery as this one. So I'm running an Infinithium V on it. It just snaps on different. It doesn't slide up like this. It snaps on straight, but it uses the same battery as this camera, which is of course my main camera that I shoot with. This is a great little camera. Look at this thing. If I turn it on, look at the lens. The lens floats. See that? It's got a floating lens on it. Ooh, that's why you can take this and do handheld, and it's got a gimbal built in. 5-axis gimbal for the lens. Neat, huh? It really works well on this. Anyway, that's this little piece of crap Maxell DV tape rewinder. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemies for rewinding their precious tapes, because you put your tapes in this thing, there's a good chance that your tapes are going to get all damaged by it. Didn't do it that time, but good chance your tapes are going to get damaged by something as ridiculous as this. So stay away from them. Anyway, that's it. That's all I'm doing on this one. Thanks for watching. Bye.